The starving alien girl, she crawled on the cold metal floor. Her hands were shaking. Her skin was cracked, dry, and almost gray. Her eyes were too big for her small face. She looked more like bones than a person. She was not human. No one knew what kind of alien she was. And no one cared. The busy space station was full of life, traders, travelers, rich aliens in golden robes, but they all walked past her. Some turned their heads away. Others looked down with disgust. She reached a small food stall. The smell of warm bread hit her. Her stomach growled. She lifted one hand and spoke in a soft, broken voice. Please, just a crumb, The alien shopkeeper, a fat creature with yellow scales, stared at her with cold eyes. A crumb? Get lost, you filthy thing. She stayed on her knees, her hands still up. The shopkeeper growled, picked up a dirty bucket of water, and threw it on her face. Go beg somewhere else. She fell back, coughing. Her eyes blinked, and tears mixed with the water on her cheeks. Nobody helped. The people nearby laughed, whispered, or ignored her. One alien took a photo. Another child pointed and said, Mommy, what is that thing? And still, she didn't move. She was too weak. Her body shook as she tried to crawl away. But then she stopped. She didn't want to beg anymore. Maybe this was the end. Then footsteps. Heavy boots. Slow, steady. A tall man stepped out from the crowd. His jacket had the mark of a soldier, a human soldier. His name was David. He had just come back from the war on Titan 6. His face was tired. His arms were scarred. He had seen death, pain, and fire. But nothing had ever hit his heart like this. He looked at the girl. She was no older than 15 in human years. She had no shoes. Her fingers were bleeding, her eyes. They had lost hope. David bent down slowly. People around him whispered, Don't touch it. She's diseased. It's a trap. But David didn't stop. He opened his jacket and took out a small ration bar, his last meal for the day. He broke it in half and held it out to her. Here, he said softly. Eat. You're safe now. The girl looked up. Her eyes blinked, confused. No one had ever said that to her before. No one had ever looked at her like that, not with hate, but with care. Her hand moved slowly. She touched the food, pulled it close, and took a bite, then another. Then more. Tears rolled down her cheeks. David sat beside her. He didn't speak. He just watched, making sure no one came near. A voice from the crowd shouted, She's nothing. Just trash. David stood up. She's not trash, he said calmly. She's alive, and that means she matters. The crowd went quiet. He looked down again. The girl had eaten the food. She held the last piece close to her chest, like it was treasure. David knelt beside her once more. What's your name? He asked. She didn't answer. Can you speak? Her lips moved. Just one word came out. Era? David nodded. I'm David. Don't worry, Era. I won't let anyone hurt you. He took off his jacket and placed it over her. Then he picked her up in his arms. She was as light as a feather. People watched in silence as he walked away, carrying the girl no one wanted. The girl who had nothing, but in that moment, she had something. She had hope, and it all began with one human. And half a ration bar. Learning her name, the girl woke up screaming. David rushed to her bedside. The lights in the small clinic room flickered as her body twisted in fear. No. Stop, don't take me again. Her voice was broken. Her words were not all in English. Some were in a language no one knew. Maybe a language no one had heard for a long time. David held her gently by the shoulders. Era, it's okay. You're safe now. Her eyes opened wide. For a moment, she looked like she didn't know where she was. Then she saw his face, and her breathing slowed. He sat beside her. He didn't ask questions. He just waited. Minutes passed. Finally, she whispered, I thought they took me back. David didn't ask who they were. Not yet. This was day 2 since he found her. He had taken her to an old human-run medical station. The place was small, not fancy, but safe. For now, the nurse, a tired woman named Maria, had not been happy. Another stray alien, she had said. David, we don't have space for this. She's not a stray, he replied. She's a child. Maria had sighed. But she agreed to keep her for 2 days. Now the 2 days were ending. David sat by Era's side each hour. She didn't speak much. She barely ate, but when she did look at him, it was like she was trying to read his soul. Sometimes he caught her staring at his hands, the scars from war. Other times she'd watch the ceiling, silent, like she was remembering something horrible. On the third day, Maria pulled David aside. She's healing fast. Too fast. Her skin is almost new. That's not normal. David didn't answer. Maria narrowed her eyes. You don't even know what species she is. She could be dangerous. She's just a girl, David said. She needs someone. She needs to leave, Maria replied. Tomorrow. That night, David brought Era a cup of warm broth. She took it with both hands, drank slowly, and then looked up at him. You are different, she said softly. Different how? You gave food. You gave jacket. You stay? David smiled. That's just being human. Era tilted her head. Many humans passed me. You are only one. That hit him like a punch in the chest. He looked at her closely. What happened to your people? She looked down. I don't remember, she whispered. But I see them when I sleep, screaming, fire, then silence. David didn't push more. She was not ready, but as she looked into the cup of broth, she whispered something else. They called me Era, David nodded. Era, that's your name, she blinked. You remember? He smiled. Of course. It's a beautiful name. Later that night, David sat outside her room, reading from an old Earth tablet. He searched every database. He could find no records of Era's species, no match on face scans, no planet listed with those eye shapes or body structure. It was like she didn't exist, but she was real. She was healing. She was remembering, and something about that scared him more than war ever had. At 3 a.m., Era woke up again. This time she walked quietly to the window. She stared at the stars. David opened his eyes. He had been sleeping in the hallway. He walked to her. Couldn't sleep? She didn't answer. After a long pause, she whispered something strange. They are looking for me. David frowned. Who? She didn't answer, but then she said in a quiet, sad voice, I wasn't supposed to survive. That night, David didn't sleep, and far above the station, a small ship entered silent orbit. Its scanners searched for a life form with strange energy. The signal blinked red. Target found. The girl, with no past era, stood in front of a mirror. She touched her face, slowly, carefully, as if trying to understand who she really was. Her skin had healed. No more cracks. No more blood. Her eyes, once dull and empty, now glowed faintly in the dark. Not bright, just enough to notice. Just enough to wonder. She whispered to her reflection, why am I still alive? But the mirror gave no answers. David watched her from the hallway. He didn't speak. He didn't want to break the silence. She had been awake all night. No pain, no weakness. Her body was stronger than before. It was like she was changing, faster than any human ever could. Later that morning, David took her to the clinic's scanning room. He convinced Maria to run a full body scan. Quietly, secretly. When the results came in, Maria called him into the office. Her face was pale. David, look at this. The scan showed something impossible. Era's bones were not normal. They were layered like armor. Her cells were regenerating, even while she stood still. Her heartbeat was calm, but her energy levels were 5 times higher than any child's. Maria shook her head. She's not just healing, she's evolving. David frowned. What does that mean? Maria stared at him. It means she's becoming something else. That night, David took Era to the observation deck. From there, they could see the stars through the glass. He gave her a warm blanket and a sweet drink. She sipped slowly. Watching the stars like they were old friends, David sat beside her. Era, can I ask something? She nodded. Double quotes. Do you remember anything about where you came from? She was quiet for a long time. Then she spoke, very softly. There was a ship, and fire, and voices shouting, not in your language. She paused. Then silence. Then space alone. David leaned in. Was it a war? Were you attacked? She shook her head. I don't know. Maybe I was thrown away. David looked confused. Thrown away? Era's hands gripped the blanket tighter. Maybe I was not wanted. At the same time, far across the station, a shadow moved through the back hallways. A tall figure, wrapped in dark armor, passed through the scanner gates with no alarms. Its eyes glowed red behind a mask. It had one task: find the girl, erase the evidence. Leave no trace. Back in the observation room, David stood and placed a small chip into the wall console. A hologram appeared. Earth, oceans, mountains, and clouds spinning slowly. Era stared at it in wonder. Is that your world? David nodded. Yeah, that's home. She tilted her head. It's beautiful, he smiled. One day I'll take you there. She looked at him, confused. Why? Because you deserve to see something good. Then the lights flickered. Era's body froze. Her eyes went wide. They're here. David looked at her. Who? She shook her head. I don't know. But they're close. Suddenly the station's alarm beeped once, not loud, but sharp. David reached for his sidearm. Era stood without fear. David looked at her. She was different now, stronger, still scared, but not broken. He whispered, Era. Who are you? Really? She didn't answer, but for the first time her voice sounded clear, steady. I think I was made, not born. End scene. From above, the dark ship sent a signal. Subject located, moving in. Hunters from the void. The first shot didn't make a sound. It wasn't meant to. It was meant to kill. The blast of cold blue energy passed, just inches from Era's head, and hit the wall behind her. The metal melted silently, leaving a smoking hole. David pushed Era to the ground. Down! He fired back blindly, but there was no one there. Just shadows, moving too fast. Too quiet. The clinic exploded into chaos. Nurses screamed. Patients ran. Maria, the medic, grabbed a stun baton and shouted, Who's attacking? Pirates? David didn't answer. He knew the truth. They weren't pirates. They were something worse. Just moments ago, everything had been quiet. David and Era were preparing to leave the station. David had stolen a small ship and arranged fake IDs. They were ready to run. But then the power flickered. The cameras went dark. The doors locked on their own. That's when Era whispered, They've found me. David fired 2 more shots down the corridor. Still no sign of the enemy, but Era saw them, figures in black suits, walking like ghosts. No faces, no words. Just glowing red visors, silent and cold. She stood up. David tried to pull her back. Stay down. But Era's voice was calm. Double quotes, No, they won't stop unless I stop running. The first attacker appeared, 7 feet tall, wearing armor that shimmered like liquid metal. His weapon pulsed with blue light. He pointed it at David before he could fire. Era stepped between them. The blast hit her chest, but she didn't fall. She absorbed it. Her body glowed for a second. White and gold, then it faded. The attacker stepped back. Confused. Era looked down at her hands. I didn't know I could do that. David stared at her, shocked. What the hell are you? Era looked at him with tears in her eyes. I don't know. They ran. Through the back tunnels of the station. Past broken pipes and flickering lights, the attackers followed, silent as death. David pulled Era into a maintenance shaft. Who are these people? Why do they want you? Era sat down, shaking. I remember now. They didn't just throw me away. She looked up. They made me. David froze. You mean you're a lab experiment? Era nodded. A prototype, a test, a weapon, but I didn't work the way they wanted. I felt pain. I felt fear. I felt too much. They said I was broken, David whispered. You're not broken. Era looked away. Then why do they want to erase me? Outside, the attackers received a new message in their earpieces. Do not kill the human. He's not the target. Retrieve the girl, alive or erased. No witnesses. David and Era reached the ship bay. One shuttle. One chance. The blast doors started to close. David pulled her through just in time. As the ship took off. Era looked back through the window. She saw the shadows watching from the station. Cold. Empty. Familiar. They'll keep coming, she said. David nodded. Then we keep running. End scene. Inside the enemy ship, one masked hunter removes his helmet. His skin is pale. His eyes shine silver. He speaks for the first time. She was never supposed to feel love. Now she's dangerous. Love in a dying ship. The ship was dying. Its lights flickered like a tired heartbeat. The engine hummed low, broken, but still breathing. Oxygen would last 27 hours. Power, maybe 10. But inside, for the first time in days, there was silence. No alarms. No hunters. No fear. Just Era. And David. She sat near the window, watching stars drift by like tiny ghosts. Her knees were pulled to her chest, a blanket around her shoulders. Her face, half lit by the fading control panel, glowed. David was working under the dashboard, hands greasy, muttering at wires. If I reroute power to life support, we lose comms. If I reroute to comms, we freeze. Era didn't respond. She was thinking about the word love. An hour ago. David had said it. Not to her. Not directly. He had said, love is the only thing they couldn't program into you. She hadn't known how to answer. No one had ever used that word in her world. Now, she turned toward him. Her voice was soft. David, what is love? He stopped, looked at her, sat down slowly on the floor. Hard to explain. Try. He smiled a little. It's when someone means more to you than yourself, when their pain feels like your pain. Their safety becomes your reason to keep breathing. Era blinked. She looked back out the window. Then maybe I felt it. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was fragile. As if the ship itself didn't want to interrupt. Era crawled forward and sat beside him. Her shoulder touched his. You've lost people, she said. He nodded. War takes everything, and yet, you gave to me, he chuckled. Didn't feel like giving? Felt like the right thing. She tilted her head. Do you think I'm still a weapon? He looked at her. Double quotes. No, I think you're something your makers were too afraid to imagine. The ship shuddered. Warning lights came on. The navigation panel blinked red. Autopilot failure. Drifting. David sighed. We're losing control? Era stood. Then I'll take control. He frowned. You don't know how to fly. She stepped forward, hands glowing faintly. Not the ship. Me. She sat in the co-pilot seat and placed her palms on the console. A soft pulse flowed from her skin into the system. The ship calmed. Lights returned. System stopped blinking. David watched, stunned. You connected to it. Era smiled faintly. I think it's listening. He whispered, you're not just made, you're becoming. Later, they sat in the small sleeping pod. There was no heat left. Just shared body warmth. David handed her an old Earth book. A paper one, worn and yellowed. It's called A Fairy Tale. She opened the pages. Her fingers touched the drawings. Castles, dragons, girls with hope in their eyes. This world, she said. Does it still exist? Not like that. David said, but it did once, and maybe it can again. End scene. Outside, drifting quietly in space, a hidden drone locks onto the ship's energy trail. A voice from far away speaks. They're in love now. That makes her dangerous. Accelerate the purge, the final evolution. He was dying and all Era could do was watch. David lay across the cold floor of the ship. Blood spilled from his side, pooling under him like ink in zero gravity. His breaths were short. His eyes half closed. The attackers had found them. Again. And this time he had stepped between Era and the blast without thinking, not as a soldier does. Someone who loved her. Era knelt beside him, shaking. No. No, please stay. She pressed her hands to his wound, but the bleeding wouldn't stop. David smiled weakly. I'm not scared, just tired. His voice was soft. You'll be fine. You're stronger than you know. She gripped his hand. No, don't leave me. I don't want to be strong. I want you. Somewhere deep in the ship, power flickered again. A soft voice echoed from the wall speaker. Robotic, cold. Target compromised. Human life. Irrelevant. Execute reset. Era's head dropped against David's chest. Tears ran silently down her cheeks. Her fingers shook. Then something snapped inside her. Not like rage. Not like hate. It felt like light breaking through the dark. She whispered, You gave me something they never could. She placed her hand on David's chest, closed her eyes, and for the first time she reached in, not to destroy, but to heal. David's heartbeat slowed, stopped, Era glowed. A warm, golden light spread from her palm into his body, into his blood, into his bones. The ship itself responded. Lights surged, engines HMED. Then David breathed again. He opened his eyes, whole, alive. Dunned. My arm, he whispered. His missing arm, lost in war, was back, flesh, blood, bone. Rebuilt. He stared at her. You healed me. Era stood slowly. Her voice was calm now. I didn't know I could. David sat up. That's not tech. That's not programming. That's evolution. She looked at her hands. Then the stars. No, that's love. Outside, a fleet of enemy ships appeared in orbit. Drones locked on. Weapons powered. Subject reached unknown state. Immediate neutralization authorized. But Era didn't flinch. She stepped to the ship's controls, and the ship bent to her will. Panels lit up. Shields rose. Weapons aimed. Her voice echoed, not in fear, but in peace. I was made to destroy, but I choose to protect. David stood beside her. What now? Era smiled softly. Now, I protect you. The way you protected me? End scene. From a dark control room light years away, a voice whispered in disbelief. She chose love. Over function, emotion over code? She's no longer ours. Another voice replied, trembling. Then she's no longer predictable. She wasn't made for love, but she found it anyway. It began with silence. Not fear, not war. Just silence. After the last ship fell, after the last drone dimmed, the galaxy listened, not because it was forced to, but because it had never seen anything like her. Era floated in low orbit above Earth, her arms folded behind her back, her eyes scanning the blue and green world below. The same world that once made David, the same world that taught her how to feel, the same world she almost never saw until now. Beside her, David stood in a lightweight spacesuit, helmet off. Watching her dock, she didn't need a suit anymore. A message broadcast across all known channels. Every species, every screen, every world saw her face and heard her voice. Not loud, not robotic, not angry, just honest. They made me in secret. They gave me strength, but no soul. They taught me survival, but not kindness. Then one human fed me, one human stayed, one human believed I could be more. She paused, letting the silence speak for her. Then, I was never designed for love, but love is what saved me. Not fire, not programming, not war, a single hand, reaching out when the world turned away. Across the galaxy, soldiers stopped marching. Children stopped crying. Politicians stopped speaking because for once, something real was speaking to them. David looked at her. You sure you want to say goodbye? Era nodded. Not goodbye. Just forward. He smiled, even though his eyes were wet. I'm proud of you. She reached for his hand. You're part of me now. She turned to the stars. The council that created her was gone. Their weapons had failed. Their fear had failed. Because their mistake became hope. She wasn't a failed weapon anymore. She was something new, something born, not in a lab, but in a moment of kindness. She gave the galaxy one last message. I am Era. I was made to destroy, but I chose to protect. I chose love. Final scene. David returns to Earth, carrying the story of a girl no one wanted, who became something the galaxy would never forget. Above, in the stars, a soft light moves across the sky like a comet. Children look up and say, that's her. And, one child asks, was she real? His mother smiles. She was more than real. She was human, where it mattered.